episode of this talkative type of go to sleep chapters of me talking about historical facts. What I tell you, or I try or intend to this video to relax you and for you to learn while you're sleeping, or that's actually the intention, but you know the intention in full. Today we're going to talk about the First Punic War. You know what was it? You know what is it about? Well, we're going to find out today, because if you also want to know more about the Roman Empire, we also have video about it, interesting facts and more. So remember to follow, to subscribe, different channels, different moments of you learning while you're sleeping. Let's talk about the First Punic War. And when was this held, you might ask? Well, this was between 264 to 241 BC. The seeds of the First Punic War had been sown in the 280s BC, when a small band of unemployed Italian mercenaries known as the Mamertines or Mamertine, that actually means just Sons of Mars, occupied the strategic town of Messana in northeast Sicily. Remember, this was one of the first wars held during the Roman Empire times. Okay, situated on the narrow strait that separates Sicily from Italy, Messana controlled commerce and communications between Sicily and the mainland. When Hannibal II of Syracuse obtained to dislodge the Mamertines, or just the Sons of Mars, in 265 BC, they enlisted the aid of a nearby Carthaginian fleet. Those swift intervention forced Hannibal to withdraw, and I'm going to call him Hero. You're in the tunnel beneath the sky to be part of the family from the beginning. So Hero withdraw. The Mamertines were Sons of Mars, soon recruited to the Carthaginian occupation and appealed to Rome for protection. Sitting outside under status as Italians, Rome was hesitant to become entangled in a conflict outside of Italy, or to come to the aid of the piratical Mamertines. Indeed, Rome had only a few years before executed a similar group had occupied the Italian town of Rhegium. Yet Rome's fear of a Carthaginian stronghold so close to Italy and great for plundering what they assumed would be a sort of ward against Syracuse outweighed the concerns. The Romans, under the command of the consul Appius Claudius Cottus, invaded Sicily on march to the Mamertines' aid. So understand, when the Mamertines learned that the Romans were approaching, they persuaded the Carthaginian general to withdraw his forces from the city. The general, regretting this decision to abandon the city, took the fateful step of allying with Hannibal. The combined Carthaginian and Syracusan forces, they then went to Messana. After attempts to negotiate a truce failed, Carthage and Rome began hostilities. Both sides were confident of a quick and decisive decisive victory. Neither side anticipated the horror that was to come, a furious generation-long war which will witness many large-scale disasters and innumerable small-scale atrocities. What would you do if, since your territory was occupied by another stronger force, how do you need the help of the initial one, this time in a country that was conquered by the big force? Would you give that person help if you were part of the initial force, or would you just take a step back and let the bigger force to take control over your antique or previous citizens? That could lead to a debate. But let's continue talking about this, which will witness many large-scale disasters and innumerable small-scale atrocities. This war will transform the Roman or Carthaginian empires, upend the balance of power in the Western Mediterranean, and set the stage for Hannibal's avenging assault on Italy. I have a table over here. I couldn't do this without this, you know. It was in Sicily that the war began, and in and around Sicily where most of the fighting took place had Roman forces swiftly crossed over into Sicily and actually were captured Mazzara and then forced Syracuse to capitulate. Carthage, after crucifying the tentative general who had lost the strategic initiative by permitting Rome's impatient, adopted the cautious strategy that they had honed in generations of intermittent fighting against the Sicilian Greeks. Their mercenary army operated from fortified towns would harass the allies of Rome and Syracuse, eventually saping their will to continue the fight while allowing Carthage to make optimistic or opportunistic gains whenever an opportunity arose. It was a defensive strategy designed to preserve a status quo that was satisfactory to the Carthaginians. But the Carthaginians would soon realize that the Romans were a decidedly more powerful and more lethal foe than the loose confederations of Greek city-states that they had previously thought or fought against. What a surprise! In 262 BC, the Romans moved against the fortified city of Agrigentum after Roman forces defeated a Carthaginian army that had been sent to lift the siege. Or siege, they rarely sacked the city. Rome was not interested in restoring the status quo. Like what? They sought to expel Carthage from Sicily. The sack of Agrigentum stemmed Carthaginian resolved. Attempts by Rome to follow up on their success by capturing other Carthaginian cities in Sicily proved costly and inefficient. War is always costly. But did they thought it would happen? Apply strategic stalemate, the ballad in which cities would be taken and switch sides only to be retaken and betrayed again. War. What can I say? This was war. Rome realized that defeating Carthage would require a navy that could attack the Carthaginian homeland in Africa and thwart Carthage's ability to under courage, naval superiority, Rome undertook a rapid armament program, building and training a navy in a matter of months. And by the way, this was like pretty fast back in the day. After early losses at sea, Rome determined that they could exploit their own superiority in close quarter fighting by equipping or actually what it meant equity or equipment. That's it, equipment. They provided equipment to their ships that allowed Roman marines to rebel board and capture Carthaginian ships. Eventually, in 256 BC, a Roman fleet of over 300 ships and 150,000 men defeated the Carthaginians of gig economics. The path to Africa laid open, and this is a different side because the other one was taking me off. Sorry for cutting it off. But now, let's talk about what's up with Africa and all this matter, right? Well, the African campaign of 256 to 255 BC met with early success. Romans, under the consul, ravaged the African countryside and won its smashing victory that forced Carthage to sue for peace. No. But we wrote over terms that were exclusively punitive. Carthage hired the Spartan Xanthippus to reorganize its army and plan the defense of its territory. Xanthippus lured Regulus into battle on open ground, where Carthage wore elephants and its advantage in cavalry overwhelmed the Romans. Only 2,000 Romans from a force of over 15,000 survived to be evacuated by the Roman fleet. Oh my god, they were under God. They pull out this super overpower out. Love it. Compounding the disaster, a storm wrecked nearly the entire evacuation fleet. Oh my god. Before he reached Italy, as many as 90,000 men drowned. Oh my god. Taken with the Rome's hopes of invading Africa and forcing a quick end to her. I mean, that's destiny, that's fate, it's just karma, just saying. That's what's happening when you just want to conquer everything, not minding about people, you know. Attention to regain to Sicily and the brutal war of attrition, while Rome regrouped to rebuild its fleet. Carthage enjoyed a brief period of success in Sicily. Rome, however, soon regained defenses, capturing numerous cities in rapid succession and securing all but the westernmost region of the island. Yet Rome failed to press its advantage since they sought the capitulation of Carthage. They sent their fleet in 253 BC to raid the Libyan coast, where it was lost in a storm. Another 150 ships and other berths, 60,000 men drowned. In the meantime, Carthage was able to transport 100 war elephants. How did you transport that? I mean, I have like a serious question in my head. If you put a ship, how much the ship should be weighing? What will be its weight in order to take on board about 100 elephants? I'm not saying that they just transport those all in once, but I'm really curious, you know. For an average ship back in the day, I don't think too many animals like an elephant for the was like being like a great accommodation to shit. They would have been like pretty heavy. I need to know if someone knows. Please let me know. I'm curious about that. Further, the raiding Romans were mindful of the role the elephants played in the destruction of Regulus' army. Rome will require 2 years before it could resume serious offensive operations. When they actually continue remaining defenses in Sicily, so they didn't want to give up. They knew 100 elephants were about to come, and they were still like, okay, we need to keep on. There's something about war that I think at some point people don't know how to stop or when to stop. And at the end, when they stop, it's because it is too late and two damages were already made. But hey, I know that some point in many wars that happened in the past, there was still like some kind of gray moment to stop before he'd actually stop. I don't know what you think. Again, the table. Old Potter's soon is starting coming by themselves again. The Romans were unable to prevent the Carthaginians from resupplying the current sand by the sea. Indeed, the daring Carthaginian marred at Hannibal after supply sail with better training and better ships, and attempted to pass the Roman fleet in broad by daylight. Provoked by this humiliating display of superior Carthaginian seamanship, the consul Publius Claudius Pulcher. I like the first 2 names, but the third one, I don't know about that one. Paper a surprise assault against the Carthaginian fleet at the Tribana, appearing outside the harbor at dawn, and with the element of surprise. Pulcher, the going Pulcher, he has pretty good damn names. At the beginning, Flavius and Claudius, I'm going to talk about Claudius, I think that's the fanciest one. Appeared to be on the brink of a decisive victory that might well have won Rome the war. Instead, the Roman assault was vitally delayed as they awaited a favorable omen, allowing Hannibal to clear the harbor without a harbor. He started like coming on in the story like nothing. He was just let me see here, the daring Carthaginian and Mario are terrible. So it's just like an Mario. Is he Carthaginian? They never tell us like who wrote it. Sorry, I will tell you at the end, don't worry. Claudius' fleet now hopelessly trapped against the Sicilian coast, lost 90 entire ships, 90 whole ships. You wake up one day and you're the consul, right? And they just tell you like one of your captain like, hey, what's up? We just lost 90 ships, but you can go back to sleep, it's okay. That person would be unemployed at the time he reached Rome again. Within days, a second Roman fleet of 120. Oh my god, poor Claudius. It was assigned one task. Claudius, we need to battle this war, right? I'm going to send to you, you will be the commander of my ships, right? And he not only lost 90, he lost 120 more, and 800 transports were destroyed by the storm in eastern Sicily. Mother Nature, she knew they were losing some damn priceless time. force, let's call it Lily, and financial resources to be enough. Of course, I mean, how many things to just lost? 120 ships, 90 ships more, in addition to that, right? And 800 transports. Of course, they were like financial resources to reveal that, don't you think? What a conclusion right there, right? Let's continue. The war in Sicily was again at a stalemate, with the exhausted opponents no longer able to mount larger scale operations. The war devolved into a series of small-scale ambushes and atrocities. That means they were running out of money and they needed cheaper tactics, and that was what they did. The war devolved into a series of small-scale ambushes and atrocities. Hamilcar Barca, Hannibal's father, began waging an audacious guerrilla campaign against Roman forces and what now? Finally, in 243 BC, the Roman Senate resolved to resume large-scale offensive operations. A new fleet financed by onerous loans was constructed. Really? So they were in debt, and on top of that, they got new loans just to construct a fleet that was huge. During all the numbers to build again. I mean, I think that was the time when everything was destroyed for them to say like, hey, I think this is good time to stop this war, don't you think? We still have people to take care of, you know, and then buy a bunch of people. Some of them might be starved, and I think it's time to stop. Don't you think? But no, they gathered another one. I mean, a new fleet financed by owners' loans was constructed after the destruction of the Carthaginian fleet by storm in 241, and another at the Battle of that was another battle. Oh my god. In some kind of islands, a faction of wealthy landowners that favored peace gained power and courage, of course, because who is going to be the ones benefit from this war? The ones who actually give the money for the loans, you know? Everyone is going to be in debt after this war. Even the empire itself, of course. The long war drew to a close. Rome had outlasted Carthage, which had never adopted Rome's aggressive strategy, as Rome systematically worked to expand its territory in Sicily and pressure Carthage by invading and raiding Africa. Why don't people leave Africa alone in the bed? Why wouldn't they? I still don't know why. Carthage passively reacted to Rome's move, supposedly fighting a defensive war that aimed only at losing the conflict. What would be kind of cool is for your name to appear in the historian books, don't you think? Even the Hannibal's father appeared just like one sentence, but that would be pretty cool. Supposedly fighting an offensive war that aimed only at not losing the conflict. Sorry for the rambling. Although the Carthaginian generals display brilliance at sea and on land, Carthage never devised a strategy to defeat a more populous Rome. I mean, I think there was always like some kind of friction against the Carthaginians and the people from Rome, which routinely absorb horrific losses, and of course, as a consequence, defeats, only to regroup and resume the attack. Why don't you guys just stop? Have you ever sitted and thought and said that maybe if it's too much, right? It's too much, but no, these people just go. I don't know what I'm thinking about. Hamilcar. Let's go back to Hamilcar. What the best these hard-won lessons to Hannibal, who would devise a bold, aggressive strategy to defeat Rome. I have a question. We already know Rome had like a bunch of loans over like a huge debt, but where did Hannibal took the money from? Were they the opposite party on this war? Had the financial support for this, because I need to know something, and I need to know it quick because it doesn't make any sense. Where are you getting the money, Hannibal? Where are you getting the money? We need to know. As part of the terms of the peace, Carthage agreed to surrender Sicily and its naval bases on the surrounding islands to the Romans, avoiding conflict with Syracuse and other Roman allies, released Roman prisoners without ransom, and paid an enormous, there we go, money enters the chat again, an enormous, some kind of loan or morality tab, I guess, so $3,200 or the equivalent of nearly 100 tons of silver. Oh my god. Rome, which before the war had never fought outside of Italy, now controlled a wealthy and received territory. That's, I don't know which part to take on this war, and I don't want to do it, but of course I think nobody won, even though now they needed to pay a large sum of money to the Rome from the opposite side. Rome was also in debt, so was it really like a winner after all of this? Nevertheless, their victory must have been bittersweet during a long 23 years. Are you kidding me? 23 years fighting for you to get in debt, and that's let's go to 2025 for a second. Let's try to contextualize this in a modern way. So let's say you're in a project that lasted 23 years and at the end you just got debts of it. That isn't a win. In which planet that's the win? That isn't a win. Rome, I'm gonna talk, this is the winner, right? Rome lost over 600 ships. 600. Carthage at least 500, so the winner lost more than the loser. I don't get this. And as many as 5,000 Roman citizens and another 350,000 allies had been killed. Most suffering, horrific deaths at sea. Who would have thought? The Carthaginians too suffered terribly at the war. Well, who would have thought, right? A losing effort that left them economically bankrupt. Obviously, the pride of their possessions in Sicily. You know what I think? I'm losing or damages on the signature navy before the war. Rome and Carthage were rivals with a long tradition of coexistence and even cooperation. Afterwards, they were bitter enemies, each steeped in a generation of blood. It was a whole generation. I mean, when you have someone that could be like an equal to you, work together. We have like the first conclusion of this, and the first advice for you to get to your life. If there is someone as competitive as you, as good as you, don't make it your enemy. You're going to end up losing more than the things you would have won by being in It's a Lie, by working together, because if two equal forces work together, the result is always going to be, or probably, in a great amount of percentages I don't have, it's going to be way, way better. So, mind is the text is mind logical thinking, guys. If you have someone that could be a competition to you, don't make war with that person. Work alongside this person and make greater things. Avoid ridiculous steps. Avoid a 23-year-old war. They could have continue living in coexistence and cooperation, but they don't know their fault. That's all. For the Romans, their first white allies were now seen as bloodthirsty and the richest. And they had the phrase Bonica fights, that's in another language, that meant Carthaginian loyalty, became the most vicious kind of treachery. So they were like people speaking over, of course. I mean, 23 years of suffering for nothing. I would be pretty pissed back in the day, like screaming like, what the hell did they do? All these people die for nothing. Even as Romans, even as Carthaginians, I would be so pissed. Romans instantly talk about Carthaginians as cruel and cowardly. They were said to suck two children and dogs, like what the hell? Chickens and to eat dogs. I didn't know those things were said back in the day, not the subscription about life about the kids, but to eat dogs. I mean, I thought that was like some kind of new age gossip of different countries of our body back in the day. Okay. Well, being in the emasculating grip of Eastern style luxury and enervated by Africa's climate. I mean, who cared when you had a debt already knocking on your door? I think inventing or crafting gossips that people hate dogs because you don't like them. Like grow up and see if next time you can avoid a war of 23 years. That will be my thing to say. My thing to tell them if they come up with another stupid ghost like that. We can assume that the same animus or gossip roiled the Carthaginians against the Romans. See, they're doing the same. Now they're full in debt. A lot of people were dead. Right? And now they're gossiping about each other. That was the consequence for the winners and the losers. So they both lost. I mean, I don't get this. What's this war about? The peace, like the war, will last for 23 years. But the stage had been set for which first run and then courage to the brink of destruction. So I need to have patience with it because there's a second part of this war. Yes, there's like a second one. So they didn't learn what's up with man and pride. What's up with man and pride that they don't know when to stop even though they're losing more than they are winning. Someday we need to talk exclusively about that because I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't care about your pride. I don't care about your nobility, stay whatever. If you're saying that something is being damaged more than your potential benefit from it, just quit. Just say like, hey, what if we just start like some kind of tragedy and we start like winning a lot of money, Just an idea. But I'm glad this wasn't the best, but history disappoints me, so to like what the hell is this? Carthage humiliated and defeat and the economic depression that followed precipitated a vicious rebellion by Carthage's mercenary soldiers and African allies known as the Truceless or Mercenary War. So the lack of resources and of course the hunger of the people after the war as an upcoming consequence, right, produce another one. And what I'm going to tell you next is going to check you guys a bit more. Rome, which officially supported Carthage in the conflict, were the enemies. What's up? Nevertheless took advantage of Carthage's weakness to seize Sardinia and Corsica and to extort additional reparations. You never get better, right? You never get better. So the loser, which I put that in quote marks for the reason I stated before, due to the consequences of a war, another war was started inside the territory, and now the people that they fought for in 23 years, and we're talking a lot of bad stuff like saying against it. Now they were still allies, but because now they have like pretty bad relationships together, we're just taking advantage of. When are we going to grow up the society? Because this could be around 241 BC, but to 237 that was the mercenary war that lasted. But I see this virus even today. Like people, can we just live peacefully between each other, among each other, not taking advantage of each other just for once? That's why we continued even after those days that old. Nowadays we still having the same patterns of humanity. We need to get better. I quick just skip reading this kind of things and see in the historical books. If I were like an alien, I would be like, what the hell is going on with these people? Are you guys okay? I don't want to conquer Earth. I'm gone. Unless these people just continue killing each other, I'm gone. Where's my opening? I will be like that. So I don't know what the hell was going on, but please, we need to stop. We need to. Eventually, under the leadership of Hannibal, so Hannibal is still ongoing, is still alive. And Hannibal's now the brother-in-law. Hasdrubal the first man, that's a horrible name. Carthage was able to surprise the rebellion because of Hamilcar's role of rescuing Carthage from this crisis. He and his family gained considerable influence among the Carthaginian people, as well as widespread support throughout the Carthaginian government. Okay, so Hannibal's father, was the one who actually supported all his brothers' mess and war. And now, because they were actually trying to get people out of the whole 23 years he helped created, now he was complimented because what am I reading? Why am I going to openly congratulate someone that first of all put everyone, because it wasn't just him, that everyone in the mess they were and the sufferings they were at the moment, like you're the one to blame here, Kamika. Like, now that you're trying to clean up this mess, now they just got the support because of that. I disagree. I disagree. I disagree with that. I mean, you need to clean up the mess because you portrayed all of this mess to start with. And once you clean it up, that's when we talk. That's when we talk. It's like when the kid just spread out all of its toys, and it's just like, we're going to talk after you clean the mess, but just the fact that you're trying to clean it isn't like the fact of me just telling you like, well, no, not with the amount of mess that this guy did, and even my light is getting upset for this guy. Doesn't want the light anymore for this dude. You need to clean that hell of a mess, and then we talk, then we talk. With its territories in Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica lost to Rome, Hamilcar sought new conquest in Hispania, a wealthy region that included the richest silver mines in the Mediterranean. Well, he wasn't stupid, I can see that. By the 220s, Carthage had recovered from its defeat in the First Punic War. This is the first. I can't imagine me reading the second, but I have to. Meanwhile, Rome, content with the status quo, recognized Carthage's gains in Hispania and turned its attention to governing its new territories and completing the conquest of northern Italy. I mean, to see how they just start like doing this kind of giving of the territories, like God in the territories, and you have this part, you have this, you don't do that. The planet is not a piece of cake, and this feels like it because in real history, how many times Italy have been conquered? Like, come on. So part of me doesn't want to lose hope in us, but another part is like, come on, let's jot this down, Even my belly is feeling bad. My stomach is craving for hope. Yes, I agree. It's making noises because it's irritating. It wasn't like this. It wasn't like this after this video. It was because of this video. Okay, let's continue. The Romans organized Sicily and then Sardinia and Corsica as their first overseers. Probably now they didn't have like goals and all that stuff. Around 225 to 222 BC, Rome pacified the coast of northern Italy and then began campaigning in Illyria across the Adriatic Sea. Rome's eastward expansion to Illyria, however, was cut short by unforeseen events in Hispania, events that will soon involve Rome and in a fight for its very survival. But the Turks stop fighting. I mean, there's something in here that I don't get, and I'm actually trying to get, but it's just like a bunch of things and together, because the First Punic War was like some waste of resources, people, loans, because those loans would have been used for other stuff, right? In favor of their people, education, though there was a third one. I need to take over this. Even my light is quitting because of the amount of things I just do. And still do it. Just get up. I'm doing some RCP. Get up. We still got this. We can do this. This is just the first one. You need to stay with me. Because if you stay with me, you stay with me. Oh my god. So the First Punic War was at the end between 264 to 241 BC. First of the three wars between the Roman Republic and the Carthaginian Empire that resulted in the destruction of Carthage. At the end, the city was destroyed. I mean, wasn't that the thing you were first fighting for, so then you just destroy it? The First Punic War was fought to establish control over the strategic islands of Corsica and Sicily. In 264, the Carthaginians intervened in a dispute between the two principal cities of the Sicilian east coast, Messana and Syracuse, and so established a presence on the island. Rome, responding to the challenge, attacked Messana and forced the Carthaginians to just retreat. The battle for Sicily resumed in 254, but was largely stimulated until 241, when a fleet of 200 warships gave the Romans undisputed control of the sea lanes and assured the collapse of the Punic stronghold in Sicily. 1 year later, Carthage surrendered, ceding Sicily and the Liberia Islands to Rome and agreeing to pay a price for it. Not for the island, but because of it, they just lost. What was that? What was that for? What was that? Was it worth it? Was it worth it? This wasn't like the Roman Empire's first one, but it was like one of the largest ones, longest ones. I mean, there's like another one like 700 years and above. That's insane. These people just like to fight for a lot of years. Who got so much money to do that? Rome was now the master of central Italy, actually North Italy, and spent the next decade pushing forward its frontier through conquest and colonization. Of course, that's what they've been doing all this time. Then they just continued the dispute with Carthage. Of course they do. I lied. He must have continued with me. Oh my god. I know it's a lot, but just stay with me. I don't want to do this again. Notable figures in the civil wars included Gaius Marius, a military leader who was elected consul 7 times. Like, why? Why did you let these people that were listening so much? I mean, why? He was elected 7 times. 7, like 8. I'm just leading like some kind of battle that I really didn't much, but please vote for me. I mean, that's that. And Sulla, an army officer. And just that, Sulla, an army officer. The later stages of the civil wars encompassed the careers of Pompey, the orator Cicero and Julius Caesar, yes, that's right, stomach, that's right, who eventually took full power over Rome and its dictator. Interesting. After his, you know what this is? In 44 before Christ. We're coming a bit ahead, but this is important. The triumvirate of Mark Antony, Lepidus, and Octavian, Caesar's nephew, ruled. It was not long before Octavian went to war against these people. They love wars. These people, they love wars by a lot. They went to war against Antony in northern Africa, and after his victory at Actium, 31 BC, he was crowned Rome's first emperor, Augustus. I hate it, and I cannot tell you that I love this story. I just didn't. I think you are able to see that. Why? And all of the corners of the air, and all the corners of everything, ocean, territory. Do you think this is logical? Do you continue a war for 23 years, and that was only the first one, against people that could be like very great allies instead of competitors? You can lie to them. You could have lied to them, and then you could have like a bunch of death. In which head start a war? Sounds good. In which head? Do you want me to read the Second Punic War? Do you want me to read the second one? Because I would do it even against my will. It's not that I dislike it, or it's just like pretty against or what. Because when you read it, it's just like the thought of thinking like whether they continue is so palpable, and it's just like this doesn't make any sense. So palpable, and then you have these people just going over and over. 23 years. That's like the average life was around 25 to 30 years still in the Roman Empire. And like that's a whole life. That was a whole life back in the day. That's what they're thinking about. But here I am. I'm going to put my glasses off. I'm going to just breathe them, and I'm going to continue with my life. I'm going to feed my stomach because I got furious a bit, and I need to give them food. Maybe from a lawn, perhaps. Maybe it was Star Wars. I don't know. Intrusive thought. My belly deserves better. My stomach deserves better. And see you